which we've been doing. And this is the same as what I did share last time. So it'll be linked and you can take a look at it. If you haven't used a land acknowledgement before, you may want to check out from the Yukon information and add your own area. So I'd just like to read it. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, those of us here in the Farmington Valley, is the territory of the Tungus people who have stewarded this land throughout their generations. We thank them for their strength and resilience in protecting this land and aspire to uphold our responsibilities according to their example. And then I have a poem to share as an opening. This is a Mary Oliver poem. Just a second, sorry. Oh, giving me trouble here.
Are you okay, Nancy, while you're searching for that poem? If maybe since it's a small group, we can introduce ourselves while you're looking.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Sally Shaves. I'm a kindergarten teacher in West District School in Farmington, Connecticut, and we have a forest kindergarten. And then if you would just join in maybe, because it's such a small group, I think.
I'll go. My name is Tara Vasquez, and I have worked in Farmington for a long time, teaching elementary school, 1st grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. And now I'm working as a K-6 science curriculum specialist. And I'm excited to be here.
I'm Chelsea. This is my first meeting. I am in Avon, Connecticut at the Reggio Magnet School of the Arts, and I teach preschool. Excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Okay, and I'm Nancy Nelson. I teach kindergarten at Noah Wallace School in Farmington.
I'm Chris Lapsis. I teach in Hebron at preschool. I've been in Hebron for 20 years, the last 10 in preschool, and just last year implemented a Wednesday in the Woods program.
My name's Eliza Lowe, and I am the organizer for Inside Outside and affiliate faculty at Antioch University, New England. And I'm glad to be here with all of you.
So, and anyone else, just so you know, Chris has some amazing experiences from his time in Australia to share. So that would be something we should talk about sometime with others too. All right.
Big special, Chris, is all I think about. Well, we're glad everybody's here, and we are such a small group, and I think we've already kind of heard a little bit about where we are on our journeys and getting started, but maybe Chelsea and Chris, since you're new to our group too, maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about where you are in your journey in getting outside, if you feel comfortable with doing so.
Sure. I think Chris is much more advanced than I am at getting outside. I had a class with Chris this summer, and he shared some awesome experiences from his school. I'm still pushing to get my administration on board with for like Fridays outside all day. We've done a nature walk. We've played outside and collected some nature items. I'm still getting to know the land around my school. So far, we've gone up to the tree line, playing around outside beyond the fence, which was exciting for my preschoolers. But I am very, very new to Antioch. This is my second semester. Eventually, I'd like to open my own small preschool and have it be a nature preschool. We're outside at least half the day. So that's my dream, and I'm trying to implement as much as I can in my current setting, pushing a little bit at a time. I'm trying to get my admins on board, but that's where I am in my journey.
And so like I said, last year was the first year I implemented the Wednesday in the Woods program. It had been a few years in the making, had gotten interested, like I said, in preschool about 10, 11 years ago, maybe. I had been teaching third grade for that whole time, thought that's what I would do my whole time, but got frustrated that a lot of the things I was doing I wasn't allowed to do anymore because of testing and teaching to the test. So that was about the same time my own kids were starting preschool, and I saw that that whole child philosophy was what you're supposed to be doing and allowed to be doing. So I expressed interest to my administration. There wasn't an opening at the time, but they did move me to the early elementary school to teach second grade, and then a year or two, on the day of convocation, we were awarded a grant from the state to open up a full day preschool program. So I applied for it and got it. And after I had to make the decision after 10 days of teaching my second graders if I was going to take that leap of faith. And I did, because I knew that's what I wanted to do long term. And I had to figure out what preschool full day looked like. We had just run a traditional half day program within the elementary school. So model 50-50 ratio for model students and IEPs, 4 days, half days a week. Now I needed to create a 5-day program, a full day program, and 60% would be, or 70% were income eligible students. So they gave me, I think, 2 or 3 weeks to figure that out and order supplies and create a classroom. So I did that. And we had to go through the NIAC accreditation process to get the grant. I keep sustaining the funds. Since then, we've expanded to 3 full day programs. But so through my preschool journeys, and I've attended NIAC conferences, I started, listening, going to conferences and learning a little bit about nature, play. I had gone to Rusty Keeler, a couple others, and read Last Child in the Woods, which got me interested. And my wife and I applied for a fellowship through Fund for Teachers, and we spent 23 days in Australia in 2018, visiting bush and beach kinders all across. We started in Melbourne, went up to Port Douglas, then went over to Perth, and then finished in Sydney. And I have the count, but I don't have it in front of me as far as how many schools. It was definitely a lot. We were seeing schools almost every day. And one of the reasons we chose Australia was I knew the most realistic program to start at my school, in a public school, was a 1 day a week program. And I knew that was the model, the big model in Australia. And they were a few years ahead of us. So I was able to meet a lot of the people that started it, and we were able to ask them questions and see how they started. And I was really like humbled by how much they were willing to share. They were willing to have me. I mean, I'm just this guy from America that has no nature-based experience, and they're welcoming to their house and inviting me over for dinner. And so it was very, very inspiring. And then I came back and I'm like, I don't know what to do. How do I make it work? I know how they got through all the legal process and all that. And so that's what got me looking for resources in the US. And that's when, I came across Antioch, and started my journey, I think 3 summers ago, and took the curriculum class, and Eliza was like, just go out there and do that. And I was still nervous to do it, but I think the risk piece was my big holdup. And finally, once I took the risk management class, I really took that plunge. And I think COVID happened at the right time for that, because it was nature-based schools were getting kids outside. So it was a perfect opportunity to start it. And I did finish up my certificate portion of the nature-based early childhood certificate. And now I'm finishing up my master's, hopefully within the next year and a half. So yeah, started at Wednesday in the Woods program. We have a beautiful piece of property, and we go out there from morning until it's time for lunch. So.
Great. So do you want to dive into this poem and share a little here, and we'll go on to some more things. The poem that I have here, a Mary Oliver poem, Song for Autumn. I like to use a lot of poetry with my kids, and I do a lot that is kid poetry, but I'm learning more through a lot of my classes to also include more adult poetry with kids and really see the imagery and the nature value in that too, because I think there's a lot that they actually do pick up and gain from that. So this is an adult poem, but I think it has a lot of application to this time of year, certainly for us to think about, and can be used with kids. I'm beginning to hear how they hear these things read to them. So, Song for Autumn. Don't you imagine the leaves dream now, how comfortable it will be to touch the earth instead of the nothingness of the air and the endless freshets of wind? And don't you think the trees, especially those with mossy hollows, are beginning to look for the birds that will come, 6, a dozen, to sleep inside their bodies? And don't you hear the goldenrod whispering goodbye, the everlasting being crowned with the first tuffets of snow? The pond stiffens, and the white field over which the fox runs so quickly brings out its long blue shadows. The wind wags its many tails, and in the evening the piled firewood shifts a little, longing to be on its way. I really like that. Mary Oliver has a lot of nature-inspired, wonderful poetry to look for. I did include after that one on the link, if you go to it, a kid poem about leaves also, which is great to use at this time if you're looking for some things that are more their language. But I love the imagery in some of the adult poems, and the kids do catch a lot of that. So I'm excited to use more of that with them this year as we get into more outside time. So it's a great one to share. So I know Chris mentioned this, and Sally, you've shared with me the form, the way you're using it, but we started talking about some of the site assessments and the benefit risk assessment work that helps us get going and get started and get out into spaces. And I took the risk management class this past summer also. And on the Inside Outside website, if you haven't seen it, Chelsea, there is the link for the benefit risk assessment form. And I just put in here to share one that I did, a site assessment for MySpace, and then the benefit risk assessment for the walking around in the small trail that we do have, to share those two things, just to give you an idea of what, if you haven't seen them before. Tara, I don't think I've shared these with you, so
Yeah.
for you to see. And
When you went through and did this risk assessment, were you with, who was the team that went with you?
these are ones that I wrote up for the class when I did the risk management class this summer of my Noah Wallace site. So I did it on my own at this time. And then Carrie and I went through it together, talked it through, the principal at the school. That's sideways, but. So the site assessment page really is just asking you to take a good look at the space. And it can be done rather quickly. It isn't something that needs a lot of time, because you might do it for even small areas and small spots, but there's some really great thinking that goes into it just to get you ready to see what might be needed there, what is a hazard versus a risk. Those are things to really consider, because the hazards are the things we want to figure out if we need to remove them or take them away. They can cause harm, where a risk may be something we need to mitigate, something to work around or with, and can put a lot of benefit into the situation. So that's what this form asks you to look at: the hazards, possible risks, existing controlling mitigation strategies, things that you might need to do to work with those things, and then who is going to do that. Some of the things I put on here are things that have not yet been completed, such as getting the town to help with the poison ivy removal. I've been doing it, but I would love to have someone else help me with some of that. And other things like the mowing has been an issue. I don't think I put that on here, but the mowing around our stumps, I've been out there with my weed whacker doing that, because when they come, big machine, they don't get off the machine, so they push everything, and that has not been fun to have to replace all the big logs in the circle that I can't even lift, and then all the stumps I move when I can get up there and do it before they come to mow. But so that's another piece that I might want to put in as something to have somebody from Department of Public Works help out with. And then the benefit risk assessment is a chance to really think about what you want to do out with your students. What are the benefits you think in all different areas, things they may gain from different pieces of your nature time. So you can do this for whatever activity you're trying to do outside. So this one I wrote for trail travel, just the small little trail that we have around the boundary of our property, which I have not taken my kindergartners into yet this year. We're not ready. They're having a hard time still with just the basics of responding to an auditory call to come back and knowing boundaries, and really working on a lot of that right now. So we'll get there. Hopefully next week, actually, we'll first get out on the trail. But in this type of format, you're looking at the different site considerations and any amendments you think might be needed, and then looking at all of the benefits in all different areas, such as academic and cognitive, gross motor physical, social emotional, and creative, spiritual, metaphysical, all the different things that might be the benefits you can get out of an activity such as this small little trail walk, which is a very small area for me. But I think some of the things that we typically think of as the more creative and fun in the spiritual, that word sometimes puts people off, but if you think of it more in the sense of connection to the earth and nature, that type of spirituality, it's not about a religious spirituality. There's a lot that we want to do there. We want kids to be using their imagination. That's where the storytelling comes in. That's where you can be getting really involved in their own sense of place coming out of that as well. And then the social and emotional is something we're all focusing on more because it's needed. And there are so many benefits we're finding from being outside, just the being outside, as well as the activities that you do while you're there. So this is just an example of how I think about one activity that we'll be doing frequently once we get ready to be out there. Sally, did you want to share the types of things you've considered in your site to get started next?
So when we started about 3 years ago, Chris and Chelsea, this was brand new to the entire town. So it was really baptism by fire, as they would say. But we are very fortunate that we have a nature recreation center here in town with a naturalist and an outdoor educator. And he came over and he helped with the initial risk assessment, the site assessment. So that was very helpful. And he's come, I use him as my my mentor. So he's been with me through this journey for 3 years. And he comes at least 2 to 3 times a year to help me out. But I do a quick walk around the property every day, just very, very superficial. But then I do a formal site assessment once a month. And then anything that I think needs to be done, as Nancy said, our forms are very similar. I write down, and then I go see our custodian, who will either notify our director of facilities, or he's been contacting the town. He seems to have a little bit of pull with the town, so I usually let him take that over. And then we both write if there's a risk that needs to be done, we write it up, and then I have him help me assign it to someone. He'll either take it over or he'll sign it and saying he's taking over, calling the town. And then our principal just signs off on it to indemnify us. But it was a big learning curve for me. I am not a full-time student at Antioch, so this was something that I had to read a lot about, make a lot of phone calls to people who knew what they were doing, spend a lot of time calling people at preschools in New Hampshire and Vermont. But now that we have the swing of things, it seems to be going very well. And we, again, like Nancy said, we talked a lot about the why. Why are we doing this? What are the benefits for the children? And it's now selfishly, we see the benefits for ourselves as well, and how it's transformed our teaching. And it's actually been rejuvenating in for a lot of individuals. They see new purpose and potential and just new energy in what they're doing. But that's kind of where we are on our journey. It's my responsibility now. I'm teaching the younger teachers now how to go about doing this, because I'm at the tail end of this career. Just passing it on to the next generation, and they're embracing it, which is lovely. That's where I am right now and how kind of I got there. I don't know if you guys have questions about any of that. I know that you have some pretty thorough courses at Antioch. I'm trying to think. I'm picturing Chelsea's site.
If you're new into this,
dive
I mean, these are some of the things that might be helpful to get people on board. You know, if you do a few of these for some of the small spaces or activities you want to use, I think it just makes it very clear for others to see you've really thought this out. It's not just let's go outside. There's a lot more to it, you know, that you're doing, so they can really get into that. And just a recommendation, Chris, I don't know if you've worked with these, but Claire Warden's books, she has the small ones for each different topic. At the back, she's got that same sort of form there where she lists the hazards, the level of risk, the precautions, and revised risk level. So that a lot of this comes from her work as well. The same type of.
You said Claire Warden?
Claire Warden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not seen that book.
She's from the UK, but she's got a lot of preschool stuff there. She's the person who really originated the floor books work also. Okay. I think it's hers. But this one is the water one, Fascination of Water. There's one for fire. There's one for, what are the other ones? Is it Earth?
I've had quite a few. And I don't mean to interrupt, Nancy, but when I started this journey a couple of years ago, I just took a shot in the dark. And I actually don't tell my husband. He was wondering who I was calling in the UK, in Scotland. But she actually had somebody answer my telephone call and spent about 5 minutes with me on the telephone, just going through a few things, hooked me up with her website where you can take virtual webinars, which I did on floor books and treasure boxes and a few other things. But they were actually a very lovely resource. And I was absolutely shocked. Somebody called me back. I wasn't expecting it. I was hoping for an email, but they were very, very helpful, her organization. And that's my dream. Once COVID is over, that is one of the places that I want to go and see, one of the schools that she runs. She's pretty amazing.
My dream is Scandinavia. I want to get to the schools there outdoors all winter in that cold and try that out. Okay. So, but her series of books, these are just the small ones. She has lots of books, but this is just the series that has each of those areas. So there's one for fascination of fire, fascination of earth, fascination of water, and fascination of air, all the different elements. And you've got some great activities, and that risk assessment for each of those things is in the back. It's helpful to use.
And I know most of you probably are familiar with them. For Chelsea and Eliza, maybe you can help figure out where they are. I know they're somewhere, but I couldn't find them quickly. The sheets that you guys made that have, like, I use them for the benefit analysis piece, that show like the benefits of outdoor play, and then show like curriculum specific. And then you guys also created the social emotional one, right? Am I right? There's like, it's a green and they have the pictures and the kids. I have it in my
I'll put them in the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah. On the Inside Outside website under resources, the assessment forms are there as well. Some of that might be what you're talking about too.
Yeah,
I really got to spend more time with you guys, because I was doing this on my own the other day.
And you came around to the great places on your own, so you know what you're doing. Got it. But yeah, it is a lot is there to help. And I think, one of the things I really appreciated in the risk management class this summer with Ann Stiers is that it's not, rocket science, that idea. It's you get out there and you do it and you see what's happening and what you need. And a lot of that does grow as you're doing it, but it can be done quickly. It doesn't have to take hours and research to do a site assessment. You can do it visually and see what's going on and make plans from there. And then things do come up and you make adjustments, but it doesn't have to be as intimidating as it sounds, I think, to just get started. But it is also something that if somebody else is very uncomfortable with it and you do it with them, I think that helps get somebody else out there. So, if we can be resources to others that way, where they have different kinds of spaces, it's good to have another set of eyes take a look.
Also thinking if there's a person in Chelsea's building that could partner with her a little bit, if there's another like-minded individual that might help a wee bit too. So
I have a new teacher starting with me tomorrow. I've been subbing. I'm technically supposed to be the paraeducator, but I've been subbing this whole time, and my certified teacher starts tomorrow. And she knows my journey, and I keep pushing her. So I'm hoping, I think if I show her, you know, the papers you're talking about, showing like these are the benefits, because she's the type of person that she needs to see, you know, what standards is this meeting? Is this, you know, good for NIAC? Is this good for Connecticut learning standards? I think if I show her that evidence, I can get her on board, but it'd be me leading her.
I'm
But-
thinking of an individual, her name is Sally Hoy. And she runs a company called Fairy Dust Learning, and she works a lot with Reggio Emilia schools. And her passion right now, and a lot of the team that she's working with, are outdoor educators working through the Reggio philosophy. And I'm wondering if even on that site, there might be some information that helps you in your particular situation bring this forward. You had said there was some pushback from administration, but I'm wondering, and I'll look on that site and see if I can send something to Nancy to forward you that maybe there's something that a philosophical stance through Reggio that would help you with your administrator that way. But she's been another good resource with her Wonder League and stuff. I found that she's also available and she networks very, very well.
I love her. I follow her.
Me too. I pay the fee.
Facebook too.
So
Too.
I'm wondering what other questions people have, or if we want to think about scheduling. I'm a time management person. If we want to look at, well, first of all, what other kind of conversations you'd like to have this evening, and then if you all are interested in some kind of site visit, even to us, or you know what we would like to plan is next. What would be worthwhile for all of you? In other words.
And it might be, Chelsea, that might be the kind of thing, if you can get someone to come out to a site and see it too, that would be a good step to help others. You know, if there's another teacher who's just slightly interested in, but willing to do that, that might be a pull. So Sally has offered or is considering her site at West District School. So I don't know, Chris, if you'd make the trek over, but if you're interested, we're thinking about getting something in October, something coming up soon. But certainly we want to get the word out to other people who were here last time but aren't here tonight. Maybe they would want to be joining us. So, Chris, you're in Hamden, right? Is that?
No, Hebron.
Hebron. Oh, excuse me.
So pretty central.
Is your site a place that you'd want to open up to others, or are you interested in going to see?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a work in progress. It's like I said, it has beautiful potential. So it was a rundown trail that the Scouts had done many years ago. And it took actually a beating this past year between storms and wetness. So like our bridge, we have like a little loop trail that we can do. The bridge that goes over a little brook is needing repair. I mean, it's enough that I've taught my kids how to navigate it when we're walking together, the soft spots, but it has good potential. And it's connected to open space that the town just recently purchased a few years ago. So there's even more acreage out back that we have yet to even discover. So I'm loving to have people come and give ideas, but I'm also happy to show what I'm doing. I'm not claiming to be an expert or, doing anything really special. I'm just right now is how I've started is I'm giving kids the opportunity to explore and play outside, which has also helped me shift my philosophy in what I do in the classroom. So I'm doing a lot. I'm providing the environment and the materials for them to learn, but I'm not always predicting what we're going to do that day or plan everything out. So I know that that's unique more so to kindergarten, I mean preschool. But I'm happy to have people see. I'm happy to share. Like I use Seesaw and share videos and pictures with families all the time. So we were just out there yesterday. I can actually send a couple links so you can get a little idea of the space, we're using. Yeah, I mean, I have a new group. So out of my 14 students, only 5 are returning. So there's 9 new students. So I had to redo everything as far as introductions of outdoor environment. And so last week was really, I broke the group into 2 groups of 7. My para stayed with one group and just introduced shovels, rakes, and pails, and I took the other group on a nature walk, and then I switched, and it was actually rained on us a little bit, and it was a short visit, and yesterday was our first full morning out there, so they did very well with it.
I know that MySpace is something that I'm struggling with, the sharing of it for so many groups, and that's something that's been a challenge. So, coming over to us, it's something I hope that it's going to grow the space this year. We're going to find ways to make it even better than the little bit that we were trying to do now. But, I'm sharing a field area oftentimes there are more than 60 kids up there at the same time. You've got at least 3 classes of 20 out there, and our classes are all big. So I'm going to be up to 22 on Monday, and it's a challenge to do that without all the extra adults that I really would like to have too. So those kinds of things that we can share with each other are, great to see just what can be done in a space when it's not ideal yet, when it's not everything we want it to be. So, do you think that, Sally, you were thinking about October, and did you have dates or things in mind that you wanted to put out there?
I didn't at this point in time. I was definitely thinking of October because things, things died down, especially the mosquitoes. We're having a mosquito issue this year. The parents have been very good about putting repellent or bracelets on the children prior to coming to school, which has helped a great deal. I wasn't sure what the group was looking at, if they wanted an after school time or if they wanted a weekend time when, for travel and things like that. I think that we probably can look at the calendar and maybe put a couple times out there, Nancy, and then maybe people can vote on, on the group, and we can decide based on the whole group need, I guess. Because I know there's a couple of people that wanted to come from some other areas to take a peek. I know there were some friends from Torrington that wanted to come down to see as well. So we can put a couple dates out there and see what works best for people. And I'm pretty open. I've made arrangements with the principal that I would fill out a land use form for the town, so that we have that all taken care of, and they have no problem with it whatsoever. A building use form. So we're good that way. So if that's fine for everybody, I'll put up a couple dates and we can see what works best for everyone.
This is just a side question, but Sally, do you find that the bracelets for anti-mosquitoes work pretty well or not? So
I
well?
particularly don't find them very helpful. When I go camping, I wear them on my legs before I get into the sleeping bag, just in case. But unfortunately, I am a friend with Lyme disease, and I do have flare-ups, and they are not allowing me. My doctor, who's an osteopath, usually recommends more natural things for me, but I do have to wear DEET because when I have a flare-up, it affects my joints pretty profoundly. So not happy about that. A lot of parents have found a lot of natural products that do work. My children do smell lovely. A lot of eucalyptus and citronella products, and the children seem to be doing quite well with that. Nobody seems to have been bitten severely. Nobody seems to swell. And those seem to be the products that the parents are gravitating toward. I think I did get it from another meeting this past summer, from an Inside Outside Massachusetts group had sent me some information on natural products that I was able to pass on to parents, and they were able to make their own decisions. That seems to be what they've been using. So I'm the only one smelling like deep.
So they use citronella, and what was the other one?
It smells like eucalyptus and citronella to me. Exactly. I have a list of products that I can send to you that I had a school nurse also look through the list to make sure. And I believe the individual from Massachusetts, who was very sweet, these were like from a pediatric approved anyways. I think she got it from the National Association of Pediatric Nutritionists, and she forwarded that to me. So we have been using that list after I got it approved from our school nurse.
Thank you.
So I know the first time we met, we talked about sharing some books if people wanted to do that as a piece that we might put in the future. But that's something we can consider. I mean, another piece of poetry to share, but we also put in, I put a little list out of future meeting topics. We want to see if you guys have some ideas of what you would like or to add to the list so that we can plan beyond this next month, thinking about a site visit, but thinking about topics that we'd like to do beyond October. So if you, let's see, I know Liza's trying to put that in the chat for us. And if you want to share that out with other people also and see if there's anyone else who has a topic they'd like us to figure out, we have hopefully some options to look at maybe getting some speakers or other people that can come on. I had a class recently with a speaker who was teaching in New York City. He's in Brooklyn now. And it's just great to hear the perspective of people using nature-based things in urban settings as well. I think it gives us a lot of ideas. So there are people out there who are willing to come and talk to groups and give us more ideas that way too. So if you're interested in that, you might want to add that to the list.
Can you share that list, correct, Nancy?
Liza just put it into in the chat. Yeah, it should be there. It's a Google Doc there, and at the top of it, I hope you have access to edit it. You should be able to put some things on there.
I did bring a book today.
Go ahead.
I am fascinated with sticks. My children just, one of my idols has always been Marta Gerber. She taught me a lot about how to observe children just to bud out. And I've been trying to do that, just bud out and watch them and watch what they do. And I just love their fascination with sticks as not only tools, but, part of their imaginative play, how they use it as engineering pieces. And so I'm sure everybody's familiar with both these. We're thinking of poetry, but I love a stick is an excellent thing. I'm backwards. It has such a variety of different poems and it invoked a lot of childhood memories. It talks about playing with jacks in here, and they're sweet poems, and my kids have seemed to like the rhythm and behind them. And just the connectiveness, where I was talking about how I used to love to play jacks, and most of these children don't know jacks. And so we got into a little conversation about that. And the cute thing was, one of my friends was trying to bounce an acorn outside and try to play jacks with the acorns the other day. It was very sweet. And then to go along the stick book is also my other favorite one, about loads of things you can do with a stick. And I just truly enjoy this. And I actually have this one in my classroom and allow the children just to thumb through it. And it's definitely inspired them to view just the limited, I don't want to say the limited things, but the non-purchased things in our space. So it's given them a new insight into utilizing what's naturally there. And that's been a lot of fun to watch them do as well. We have a lot of fishing poles in our area now that are handmade with yarn, and a few attempts at bending sticks to make them into the shape of fish lately. So I like both those books, and I like having them as resources, not only for myself, but also for the children as well.
Are you also familiar with Not a Stick?
Not like KNOT or?
No T. So yeah, by Antoinette Fortis. There's also Not a Box, but they're great for that open-ended play.
Yeah, I've used that this year already. And, we're talking about, that's another thing that I did some, benefit risk analysis of stick play, because that's something that I think I wrote it up for all of the teachers at my school, and I can share that. I don't have it right now, but I can put that out for everyone too, just to introduce that, because we found last year that it was the first time in a lot of years we stopped saying no to sticks, because it had been a thing that everybody just did not do. And we're told, always telling them to put them down. But last year, part of that was the benefit of having small groups with the COVID situation last year, so that we had our recess spaces were all separated and it was just one class of 15 kids. So we were able to say a little more yes. And once we started, really just seeing what kids did with it, it was exciting. And the bigger kids don't want to go back to the lessons and go back to the learning about how to play with them. They're just jumping in. But I think that, the teachers need to just monitor some of that to make sure they've got the safety part of it down. But at the younger grades, starting with just really exploring the sticks, we started with pencil-sized sticks in our class first, which they love to dig with. And, that's a big thing. But then working towards ones that are your arm size. And, that rule of the size of your arm can do no harm. If it's bigger than you, you need to, so that they have to have a friend to help them carry the big ones. And but they build great stuff with it in a small space with not much more than a few sticks. So that does get them excited. It helps. It has opened up an area of our playscape, because there's just these few trees and sticks that they are building these amazing things against those few trees, instead of all being on top of each other on the playscape.
My favorite stick story came from last year, and I won't talk anymore, is that due to COVID, we had the smaller groups outside, but one of my former colleagues who was in kindergarten with me had moved up to 4th grade, and she was very excited. They had just finished their study on the Revolutionary War. And she came to tell me, she goes, it was just like being in the forest. She goes, my children picked up sticks and they weren't hitting each other, she said, but they were reenacting battles out there. So they were connecting what they had learned in the classroom into their play. So that was a lot of fun. And she had remembered how we had talked about stick training, and she had done the same with her kids and how they had embraced it even at the 4th grade level, which was just so cool.
I think that quote from in the video, "The Best Day Ever," that where the parent says, this is just, it's a time where a kid can tell a stick what it is. And I just like that idea that, it's up to them to figure it out, and they do. They have great ideas. So I know Chelsea said she had to bounce around. She was doing Boy Scouts night. Chelsea has 5 kids, by the way, that she's taking care of. It's a lot. Yeah. All right. So I think we're getting ready to wrap up pretty soon here. I'll share this other piece of poetry, this book that I have with me. But if you do have, Chris, any ideas about coming out, we'll get some dates about visit to Farmington, and share that with as many people as you think might want to make the venture over, and we'll try to get that out, get the word out to others. And we know that there are people within Farmington in town that were here with us last week that couldn't be here tonight that will be able to come over, but we do want to spread it if you have other friends that, people who are interested, who want to come from your area. So this is another one. I don't know if you've seen it. When Green Becomes Tomatoes. And it's a book of poetry through seasons. And one of the things I really like about it, again, it's an adult book, but she is writing it sort of like a journal. So it's dated, different dates rather than titles to the poems. And I think this is something I really found last year with kindergarten and poetry, like the idea of helping them see that their words are poetry in any way they use them. And I like the way this book sort of plays off of that as well. So it's just really her thoughts and talking. She's not trying to be very tight with her verse or anything that's very formulaic. It's a lot of just speaking off the top of her head and how she feels. And I think kids need to know that that's valuable writing, that they should do that as well. And their thoughts about nature can be inspiring for that. So I was just going to read September 30th because today. And then October 2nd is here also because I think this is how a lot of us have been feeling. But September 30th says, I will give you flowers so perfect and blooming still. I will give you their pink and their purple, and I will give you butterflies who are anxious and already packing. I will give you these last few raspberries, and I will give you daylight, not all, but plenty. If you will give me orange and red and leaves that fall and sometimes twirl just once before floating, and if you will give me a reason for a fire to sit by and wait for spring. Just that idea of speaking to fall as if it is a being that you can barter with and share and trade with, and the things you're looking forward to and willing to give up for what's coming. And then October 2nd, I definitely know a lot of us are in this place. It says, I'm too tired to think about trees or the way the wind moves through them. I'm too tired to notice if they are turning, and too tired to listen to what they would say if they could say anything at all. And I am too tired, but I am wishing that they would wait for me to wake up and listen, because even tired and blinking slow, I know enough to wonder what the trees would say if they could.
I like that.
I like that one a lot, just that, sometimes we're in that space, but that wonder can still be there, waiting. It's Julie Fogliano.
So I think we're coming to the end of our time together, but it's been so wonderful to have this fellowship this evening. Even though we're a small group, I think sometimes those are the most intimate and where we get our best ideas and where we grow as people. I hope that everyone will join us next time and maybe bring a friend, and we'll send you some dates that you can look at for a possible site visit. And Nancy, do you have any parting words?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if I wanted to let people know that if you join the network, I'll put the link in, you can choose Central Connecticut chapter, and then that way you'll get, you'll automatically get the emails that say when the next meeting is, and also we'll make sure to share out the recording and the links and all of that.
Perfect.
Could I ask one quick question too before we hang up? On the list of future topics, the sit spot routines, do you know of a good resource that I could read more about that on my own before we even get to that topic? Is it from a book or a website?
Yeah. It's in a lot of different books right now, but if you want to go back to the source and go to Coyotes Guide, that has a lot of the routines and explanation there. John Young's work, Coyotes Guide. But you'd also find things about it in some of David Sobel's books. And Tara, if you want to borrow any of them, you're more than welcome to grab my copies of some things there.
Okay.
And I have Coyotes Guide if you wanted, Tara.
Oh, I do.
That too.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I have a whole 2 pages here of things I'm going to check out when we hang up.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Liza, for once again hosting us. We appreciate your hard work and everything that you give to us. So thank you. And Chris, it was very lovely to meet you this evening. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Great. Thank you.
So
It's good to see you all.
peace to everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Take care. Nancy,
Yeah, I'm still here.
I think you have to stop the recording because I made you host.
Okay, yes, I see that.
And is it okay? I went ahead and added those links into that document. Is that all right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if the recording will come to you or if it'll come to me. Well, I guess we'll see.
Okay. You let me know what to do with it. If it
Okay.
does come to me.
Close. Maybe it'll just stop recording when we end the meeting. I don't know. I'll try.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good night.
Take care. Bye.